Starting with a quick chug there.
No, nothing quick about that chug. I was savoring it.
What's in your mug today? Tell the listeners.
Don't, don't go
You were
there.
just saying you have 3 mugs in front of you.
Mhm.
So choose your bougiest one, the one you're most proud of, and tell us what's in there.
Well, I'm not proud of any of them other than the bottle of water because that's pure. Because it's winter, it can get pretty chilly. I have a space heater on in my recording studio where we have our first like major cold front. So Bracken and I have developed sort of an energy drink habit when we record these podcasts. I'm just going to let them know, Bracken.
That's
And
fine.
I'm not proud of it and I'm mildly ashamed, but both him and I have a version or a different model or brand or type of energy drink with us right now. I prefer to put mine in a mason jar so that the people who watch us on YouTube can wonder what it is, but you just straight up are canning it.
Today I am. I almost never can it. We have switched our schedule up slightly, and we record this directly after I finish recording Race Brain.
Mhm.
So it's about 3 hours of podcast, and my little reward in my 15-minute window in between is a quick snack, and I crack open a little energy drink.
You got to recharge because we're recording now. We record at like 1:30 in the afternoon, and that is like the day doldrums. And if we want to be entertaining and sound or pretend to sound smart at times, we need caffeine flowing through our bloodstream, man.
We're gonna need all the help we can get.
Yeah. So, anyways, my options are I have a little bit of this energy drink. This is the red fight milk. And then I have my bottle of water. And then I have, because I get cold, I keep like heated lemon water or like a green tea in an insulated Yeti. So I got options, lots of options. What do you have?
I have today, and this is probably my more of a rare option for me, but I have the amber edition of Red Bull, which is strawberry. And there are 2 types of people. I'm an apricot person, strawberry apricot.
That's not a type of person.
Some people say apricot.
Oh, that's your apricot or apricot person.
Yeah. What did you think I was saying?
I was like, there's no like you're not either an apricot or apricot person or not an apricot or apricot person. That's what I thought you were getting at. Like you either like them or you don't.
Maybe. I could see that. It could be a polarizing taste. This wasn't where we started, but dried apricots are a direct link to my childhood at my grandma's house.
She had them in a little
She
good
always
sense
had
bag,
fishy
and
crackers,
mm,
and she had dried apricots, amongst
they're
other things. But that's probably the only place I ever think of when I see or hear or smell apricot.
they're underrated actually as a dried fruit.
Mhm.
We are not helping anybody right now.
Maybe
Um,
Colleen listens. We lost my grandma, her mom, a few years ago, and so
mm,
it's a little my little remembrance of her each time I smell it. I don't know if
so
Colleen knows that about me.
to grandma, the Amber Edition Red Bull somehow is paying you
Yeah,
service.
there
Okay.
you go.
I want to propose a situation to you,
Okay.
which got my blood boiling a couple times in the last week while I was out winter running.
Okay.
Remember how I proposed something to you? Not proposed. I walked you through a situation about a month or two ago where I was running directly into the sun
Mhm.
and somebody stopped and basically yelled at me and said, "You're gonna get hit. You need to not run directly into the sun," or something like that. Do you
Yeah, and you
remember that?
replied, "You're gonna get hit."
I said, "No, I did not say that." She was a sweet old lady who meant well, probably. But anyways, this is
Mhm.
another one of those situations, and I got mad, like blah, mad. I want to see what you think.
'Kay.
So, out where I run, first of all, we winters came howling in out of nowhere. I think you guys got the same thing. We had pretty mild fall and then bam, negative temperatures. My run on Saturday said -9 with the wind chill,
Ooh.
-11. It was in the single digits and the wind was whipping, cussing under your breath type feeling, you know. And then this morning, I think it was 3 with the wind chill. Wind was whipping. We got just enough snow to make the roads suck. I had a quality session planned. The only place in which there's some purchase is on the shoulder of the county highways out where I live.
Yep.
All the side streets they're just garbage, right? Nobody takes care of their sidewalks, and all you people in the north can relate, and you people in the south can sit on your high horse and know that you don't have to deal with this, and I'm happy for you. But the point I'm getting at is this. I've been so frustrated with the lack of awareness of these drivers giving me space on the side of the frickin' road. Like when there's no oncoming traffic from the other way, they could go clear on the other side of the road, even whether it's a residential road or a county highway, to the point in which it's sort of dangerous, right? Like they don't doesn't matter if I'm running on the side of the road. They don't change their trajectory of their vehicle.
Mhm.
And because I was running mile repeats today and there's snow on the shoulder and some on the road, I'm sort of going in and out of the road and the shoulder trying to get the driest ground. When a car comes by, I get into the dirty, nasty snow on the side because I want to get out of the way, of course. Anyways, what is your take? What is the appropriate, like, should, and I have a stereotype of who doesn't give you space, by the way, and I'm sure I'll upset some people, but it's middle-aged women and old crusty men. They like the old men like dash and drive across the yellow dotted line no matter what. And then middle-aged women, I just like that don't exercise would be my guess, that just don't understand that that might be like a thing you should
Hmm.
do. But everybody else seems to be respectful, especially people who drive service vehicles. They're awesome. So what is the appropriate thing to do in that situation as a driver?
I think that's you can't understand it unless you've been on the other end of it.
I agree
If
with
you've
you.
not been on a bike and felt a car whip right past your handlebars, you don't get it, or whatever it is. And so I think it's whatever as you're approaching someone, whatever distance you think this is about right, just throw another 50% on it.
Yes.
That's it.
But are we
Just
owed
whatever you
anything?
think it is, just a little more.
Are we owed anything being out there? Where I live, it's really the only option if you want to get any sort of duration. Not the only one. There's other runners I'll see out there on occasion, and bikers, and even leisurely walkers. But do I am I owed that? Is that like some unspoken? Hey, you should give people room, or no? Like they don't owe me anything, which they don't. Like, what's the actual safety protocol?
Well, I don't think always even the in the conversation, it's what's logical.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is while this is happening, someone slips and falls. So you need to be
True.
outside of that range, right? So
Hmm.
if you not giving someone range puts your consequence into death, that's the wrong side of the line to err on. So just err on the side of if the worst case scenario happens, a gust of wind and I swerve in as they slip, will someone die? And if that answer is yes, then you're too close. I think it's just that common sense. It's that simple.
You're right. Owed isn't the correct terminology, but I don't know. I just was really struggling to get purchased today on my run. And so it happened a number of times. And eventually, after it kept happening, and I'm sort of getting splashed with slush, and I should have known better than going out there anyways, but I wanted to go on real ground. You get how it could be.
Mhm.
Um, my take eventually is just I hold my arms out like an airplane as they're approaching and just be like, give me space. And usually they'll like get the idea and swerve.
Mhm.
Um, or I'll even, like, kinda go out, like, in front of them, like I'm gonna be entering the road and then cut back in to be like, "Hey, watch out for me." But
Yeah.
I'm always out of the way. But anyways, I don't know why that just upsets me so much because it can be within feet, and they're going 60, 65 miles an hour. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know if you have any hot takes on that.
No hot takes, but I've lived in many different locations,
I was
like
gonna carry
city.
little rocks with me in my pocket.
Oh, yeah?
Just kinda flick one out in front of them. The next everyone that comes by, flick it. Little
Okay,
windshield popper. What do you
that's
think?
good. Maybe
Yeah.
mustard packets.
Ooh, that'd be good too. Alright.
Yeah. I've lived in the city, I've lived in suburbs, I've lived out in the country. Uh, Campbell University was in the middle of farmland. The absolute worst is single lane country highway. It
Mhm.
doesn't get worse than that because it's the smallest it's the worst shoulder to speed limit ratio there is. Usually 45 or 55 mile per hour speed limit, which means people go 10 or 15 above that, and you have the least amount of space to be on. And these are people who drive that same route every single day, and they're just lulled into their rhythm. So it's
Yeah.
just the worst setup though. And the road around your lake is exactly that setup. So it's the worst thing to train on. I I would train on almost anything else before I would choose that.
The shoulders are decently wide, luckily, but it's just one of those things. And if you want to be an effective winter runner and you live in a place, which I choose to live here, so I'm not like crying about it, but my blood started boiling. Is like if you have no other options to get outside and get purchased, but there it's like, well, do you put on your spikes and just go run the residential streets and know that it's going to be slow and annoying, or do you take your chances on the county highway? I took my chances. It worked out, of course, but
Yeah.
I'm sure others are in those situations. There's probably very many rural listeners.
And those are stressful workouts when you're trying to run hard and you're constantly listening for a vehicle or watching for one and trying to find good purchase for your feet on every step because mile repeats, you don't want to be screwing up your footing every few steps. There's a lot of steps per mile. It's just a
Mhm.
lot of mental energy goes into those quality days out on a country road like that.
Well, what do you think? Just this isn't the topic for today, but whether you're rural or residential. I mean, if you get a dusting of snow and it's the right situation, the roads are slick in residential areas. They don't clear up. It's hard to find dry concrete,
Hmm.
um, even in the city, right? Like when you have a quality session, let's say the treadmill's not an option. I had athletes that ran all their runs last week on the treadmill. Shame on them because the weather got gross, right? And they have races coming up.
Oh,
Shame on them.
shame.
Anyways,
Races
what do
coming
you
up is different.
important races
Yeah.
coming up. Anyways, what do you do then if the treadmill's not an option? What's your best take on a quality session in particular?
So, I mean, this is something I've done throughout my life. I started in college. My 5th year, I was living in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin while going to Whitewater because I was student teaching over in that area. So, what I ended up doing all winter running my quality was I would wait until 8 or 9 p.m. and I would run it on the roads. I
Mm,
would scout out the place during the day when I was going to and from work of what roads looked like they were getting the best traffic and the best clearance. And then I would go about 8 or 9, right as traffic was dying down, but before things were going to start freezing over from the traffic not being there anymore.
mm.
And I found there was like 2 or 3 spots where I knew I could get 400 to 1,200 meters of almost uninterrupted, good tire tracks in the road, but that would be dead about that time of night. So I did all mine in the dark that winter. But that was my go-to.
Hmm.
After the traffic died down from rush hour, the roads were the clearest.
I'm trying to think like likely spots in which they are the clearest, like generalization statements, right?
Mhm.
Like, hey, I
Industrial
notice
parks are great.
industrial parks.
Yep. And at about
Yeah,
5 PM, those things really shut down, so you don't have to worry about much traffic.
industrial parks. It's an interesting one. Very, very large parking lots generally get salted and iced
Mhm.
over, doing loops like these big, like Costco complexes and
Yep.
even big manufacturing
Walmart's good.
complexes. Anything else come to mind? Parking
I mean,
ramps,
what'd you say?
but there's elevation.
Yeah. So the 2 I would always go to were industrial parks and then, public parks. Actual city parks, if you have them, tend
The
to
bike
be.
paths.
Yeah, but, like, the road around the outside of it actually, because the bike paths
Mm.
didn't get cleared too well for me, but there was constant traffic around the outside, and around 8 or 9, no one really has business being there. So I'd have a good out and back stretch around 2 sides of this park I found, and I did a lot of intervals up and down that stretch.
Yeah, there are, I guess when you think about it, there are certain parks or city districts that like are on top of it. It snows, they got the side by side snow plow on the bike path and it's salted over immediately and it can be the first thing that clears up if you're in the right park. So maybe looking for that or that road around the park, that's a good idea.
Yeah, another good one is the frontage road near a big busy road, but that is in between the big busy road and like the shopping
The
complexes. You
businesses,
get
yeah.
Home Depot, Applebee's, all that stuff. That in between road there dies down at some point of the day, and that's another good spot.
None of this sounds sexy at all.
Is
Just,
winter
hey, go
interval
run in
work,
a
right?
Walmart parking lot. Enjoy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to vent a little bit. And hey, if you're out there driving, none of you probably do this, but if there's not cross traffic or oncoming traffic where I get it, you need to stay in your lane because a car's coming the other direction. So you can't swerve out of the way, which I get. Like in that case, at least slow down, which many
Mhm.
people do. But I just think no buffer is too big. And
I
I give
have
everybody I get completely into the other side of the lane, like, if I were to be passing a car, right, I give them so much space, it's ridiculous, only because I empathize. I
mhm.
just think more the better.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I think I've had like 5 or 6 incidents with cars in my running life where they'll swerve at you or circle back around and like rev at you or try to run you off the road. I've
Mhm.
been running since running outside training since like 8th or ninth grade.
Yeah.
So a lot of time, several decades of running, only 4 or 5, maybe 6 incidents. All but one were in winter. And I don't know what it is. If people get more upset or offended that people are out during winter and it just puts them over the edge. But 3 or 4 times we've had people on runs continually follow us and try to like run us off the road. Once was
Hmm.
with Lisa. Lisa and I had it happen. This guy just kept coming back at us
What
in a
do you think
subdivision.
what do you think he thought you did wrong? Like, what was your wrong how did you wrong the
I don't know
situation?
because I try not to do dumb stuff around her.
That's fair. You'll do it without her, but not with her. Yeah, you gotta protect your wife.
Yeah,
The
and we were dating at the
idiocracy.
time. But
Hmm.
yeah, like when in doubt, getting her caught up in your trouble is bad. It's bad for your relationship.
Hmm.
Not that I'm a jerk runner anyway, but in college, I'm sure I did a bunch of things that were less than good. But no, I don't know. So winter running seems to bring out the worst in drivers.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife constantly tells me to be not acting the way or doing the way. Like in a situation like that where somebody like irks me a little bit, like
Mhm.
I usually let them know somehow, like throw a hand up or just
Yeah.
and she's like, "You're gonna catch the wrong person and it's gonna be bad." I'm like, "They don't know how crazy I am, Jess. I'm gonna out crazy them, as I told you. Like they can act crazy, I'll just level up the crazy. We could be just fine." Anyways, I
You
find
put a lot
myself
of
in that
stock in that.
situation. I double down on that. You just out crazy the crazies and they'll eventually back down.
I think
Um,
that's more effective in the country than in the city.
maybe. All right. What do we do? What are we doing today? That took a while.
17 minutes. Here we are.
It took a while.
All right. We have a couple good listener questions that we do not want to power through. So, extended Training Tuesday shorts, essentially, today.
Yeah, we could say that. I got 19 screenshots here. Um, and I figure what we would do. So not that we rush these things because we generally don't. We actually get long winded if you haven't noticed with some of these. But we'll just take. I'm gonna actually just start. I haven't pre-read like the order of questions. I think we just actually start with the latest in queue and we give it as much time as we need to, without trying to do an interval format like we've done, which is fun, or using. I think we
Mhm.
just give it what we want to give it.
'Kay.
Is that fair?
It's our podcast.
That's true. We make the rules. All right. This one's from James, athlete I work with via email. One more, and y'all might have answered this on the podcast, or it could be for a Q&A. But are there some strength baseline for athletes who are primarily running focused only? For example, are there certain bench, squat, deadlift maxes based on body weight that you feel like should be a baseline for a runner? Strength
This
baseline.
this is one of those questions that will always exist, and everyone searches for this when they first start their strength journey, and I am not immune to this. I have searched this. What's the minimum blank needed to be able to do blank? The more the farther I get into my career, the more I'm just cemented in the fact that there is no such thing as a benchmark standard for what your strength number should be in order to be prepared to do anything at all.
Do you want to elaborate?
Well, it's it's a good thing we're taking a long time, Kirk, because I feel that I could go off on a lot of tangents on this. But I ran into this in the teaching world, and we see this in the legislative world, and we see it in politics, and we see it in law. That when you try to apply a well-intended blanket rule on anything, it inconveniences more than it helps. It just doesn't there's no way to account for every variation of a situation. There's just none. And in the running world, in the endurance world in particular, There is no standard we can point to as a correlation between successful people. There's just not. We have had world championship winners and last place hit the same numbers. And
Mm.
sometimes some are stronger, and other years it's inverted. The person who lifts the least is the fastest that year. And there's just no correlation whatsoever to hitting a certain number and being ready to run or being good at running.
You don't need to be strong to run fast. You
No.
could be weak AF to run fast. I hate to say it. But it doesn't hurt and it helps. And of course, it can be an insurance policy. It reminds me, my coach only did this. My college track and cross country coach only did this my freshman year. And he didn't repeat this in later years. But on the first day of practice, I was an incoming freshman. He had us all do a push-up test, a pull-up test, and a body comp. He pinched our fat, like did a skin sight fold, and maybe some other stuff. We did. It wasn't a run metric thing. And in our top 3 runners were notably like they were the top 3 runners, right? Then there was 4, 5, and everybody else. They were previous
Mhm.
All-Americans. They had some seniority. Anyways, our number 1 runner returning did like 32 pull-ups. Okay. On like a janky pull-up
That's
bar.
outstanding.
Correct. He was real muscly, short, 5'7", kind of muscle bound, but a great
Mhm.
runner. Our number 2 or 3, I don't remember, built like a string bean, hung there and didn't do one.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
And both of these guys are scoring for our team, battling over the 8K cross country distance, which is terrain based. One of them did like 33 and one did 0. You tell me, make sense of that,
Yeah.
right? They both I mean, would the guy who did 0 be faster if he could do more? Maybe. And would the guy who did 33 probably stand to lose a little muscle and be faster? Maybe. So like I agree with you. You can't put it. I think it's a great question. It's a fantastic question. I don't have an answer.
No, all you can do is improve whatever you can currently do. That's how you know you're improving because you can't point to even a return on your investment. Even in sprinting, which is the only place I could look to and say you will get not the only, but one of the only places you could look to and say, as a runner, the only way to get faster through lifting is to be running something highly explosive in nature, like a 100-meter dash, or something incredibly long in nature, like a 100-mile race. And then you atrophy less and break down less as the race goes on. Those are like the only places you can say, I can just make you better by making you more explosive or stronger. Doesn't help
Mhm.
your 5K at all. Even in that, you look at the start line of the world championships, and there are some skinny athletes, and there are some enormously muscle bound athletes, and there are athletes in the middle. Even at the highest end where hundredths matter, they can't agree on what the ideal
Yeah.
strength is, and they certainly can't put a number on it.
Well, I'm gonna put numbers on
Okay.
it.
Okay. I'm
If
gonna
you
this will be our biggest, hopefully, disagreement of the episode. I'm hoping for
I'm
one today.
just throwing these are just personal, completely biased opinions. If you cannot bench press your body weight, barbell bench press your body weight one time, get out of the gym. What are you doing with yourself? If
Get
you
out of the
can't,
gym?
I mean, get in the gym. The
Okay.
heck's the matter with you? If you can't barbell back squat your body weight a minimum of 5 times, you're a loser. You got to step it up.
Wow.
And if you can't deadlift your body weight 10 times, get in the gym, you weak POS. That's what I think. And I think for
Why?
men, if you can't get to 10 pull ups, you need to do a hard look at your body weight to strength ratio and fix that. And if you're a woman, I believe if you could get even 1 to 3, you're doing great. And if you can't, you got to keep working on it. It's a strength to weight ratio thing. I think those would be good standards
For what? For why?
for
For what
function,
purpose?
health, and just like longevity in the space. Because if you are a wafy, weak person, eventually you will erode and you won't be available to do these things later in life.
Okay.
So keep your structure sound for longevity purposes.
You
I hope
start to see the difference in Kirk and I come through here.
I want to
The
ruffle some
Kirk in the
feathers.
gym firing people up
Yeah.
versus me sitting behind a screen and never having to motivate anyone face to face.
Okay.
However, the one word you didn't say, 2, 3 words you never said anywhere in that answer was running, speed, or times.
No, I did not. No.
None of it is going to be guaranteed to help your times, except if you get stronger, you in theory get more resilient, and you in theory are available more often, which in theory allows you to train more, which in theory then will make you faster.
I think it's about longevity and availability long term. That's right. But you're right. I didn't say anything about you're going to be faster tomorrow if you can do 10 pull-ups. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we can do is go through a basic fitness assessment and find out where we are significantly lacking, or even the thing that makes us way more sore than we should ever be, and get better at those things. That's as close to a baseline or a benchmark as I would say is take any fitness test and get better at the things that give out on you during that test. And it's probably better for you. But no number whatsoever.
It's always nice when I say something irritating and then you soften it all a little bit for me. You know, it's very helpful.
Sorry, we're fire and ice here, Kirk.
No, no, we're not. I do think like just as like vigor and health and the aging thing is just rising to the surface for me. I think I'm looking at it through a lens like that now, and I'm thinking, why am I still able to perform somewhat well? I'm not old by any means, and it goes back to like the structure, the foundation, the fact that a lot of people start losing that as every year and decade ticks by, and then they're such a shell of their former fitness self, and most of it doesn't have anything to do with the running itself. It has to do with all the other things around the running. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's why people's fitness erodes. It's not the running itself; it's all the other stuff. So,
Well,
um,
and to be fair to everyone's true potential, I would say this is a totally unfounded term. Upper 90s, not term, but number. Upper 90s% of athletes are limited by anything other than their potential.
hmm.
Like they may be running 18 minutes instead of 14 minutes because of potential, but they're still sitting at 80% of their maximum.
Yeah.
Very few people ever run into the best performance and fitness they could ever have in their life. Something's limiting them, or some things, many things are combined to limit them. And taking care of strength training takes care of a lot of those things. But the big pushback is if I got to, let's say we put a body weight, you need to be able to bench your body weight 5 times and squat it 10
I
times
said
and deadlift
once.
it,
By the way,
whatever it is.
my numbers were men. Other than my reference to pull-ups, I was just speaking to men, by the way. So
Yeah.
should probably say
Call it
that.
60 to 70% of that for women.
Yeah.
But even if, like, if someone said those were our numbers and we stand by them, sure. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want to risk my running or get slower. It's like, you're not doing all the other things right. I don't have to hear your training schedule to know you're not doing all your other things right, because there are too many things to do right. You have a normal life, which means you're not doing all the things you could do to get to your potential. So don't worry about hitting these minor little lifting standards that some people might set, because that's not going to be the thing that keeps you from your goals. But it could be the thing that keeps you upright and mobile at 60 and at 70 when you'd like to still be running, but your peer group can't anymore.
Preach, brother. That's exactly right. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's see if we can find a way to like aggravate somebody with an answer to each of these questions today. You try next, okay?
I think we're there now. We're 1 for 1.
All right. Scott Neth sent to me directly because he knows better than to send to you. Question for your next Q&A. Like you, I choose. Oh, this is directed towards me. That's why. Like you, I choose my next quality run a few days out based on what I feel my body needs. Each time I have a quality session coming up, I worry, even dread how hard it will be. But invariably, once I'm in it, I tack on more volume and or intensity than I'd planned. And my body always handles it well. The same is true of recovery runs. I always add more volume. Am I mentally weak and not prescribing hard enough workouts for myself? Or is this my OCD and perfectionism rearing its ugly head? Making me tick more and more boxes until I'm satisfied that I've really done all I could or should in each workout. I keep trying to remind myself of your principle to stay available and not leave everything out there in a given workout, but I keep handling the work. So do I need to choose tougher workouts? Thank you.
I have one major question off this.
Okay.
And that is, what is the timeline we're talking about here? How
In relate
long has this progression been going on for?
hmm, and I don't have an answer to
Like,
that.
are we talking weeks or months or years? If we're in the week stage of I keep adding more and I'm fine, I would say let's pump the brakes and let's hold at that and see when your fitness stops improving. Let's say it's a month or 2 months, or and then we bump up again. If you've been doing months of this,
Mhm.
maybe you pump the brakes less. And if you've been doing years of keep tacking on, then maybe it's time to swing a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. If this is just like a phase he's found himself in recently, or if this is a theme for years.
Yeah.
First of all, I wouldn't say you ask, am I mentally weak and not prescribing hard enough workouts for myself? I would argue the opposite. If you are mentally weak, you wouldn't be tacking on volume. You wouldn't be adding additional reps or extending out your original prescription. I would argue the opposite, that you're actually maybe you're selling yourself short in the prescription by being too cautious. But when it comes down to the work, it would be the exact opposite phrasing I would use. Wouldn't you, Bracken? Adding on extra work is not a weak
Worry or
decision.
fear is not correlated to weakness. Quitting is.
Correct.
Quitting, finishing the workout, you can take weak out of the equation. Worrying, that's that's something you have no control over almost. I mean, there are strategies to get around that, but no, weakness is stopping the workout.
I think you got to ask yourself, Scott, what's the worst that can happen? You bit off more than you can chew and you cut the workout short, which would have been as short as your original prescription probably would have been, anyways. So, I started amping up the demand of my quality sessions a few years back. I amped them up by a third or a half, right? Instead of 12 by a quarter, heck, why not do 20 or 24 today? Instead of four by a mile, let's try 7. Like things like I'd never done before. And you don't really know what you're capable of unless you give yourself a chance. And let's say I
Mhm.
prescribe 7 by a mile instead of 4, but I get to 6. Okay, that was a net positive. And as long as you can mentally handle that and not look at that as a failure, but in fact progress, I don't really see the harm in it. And we did a couple episodes about like swinging the hammer, every 3 weeks or something, you can do a hero workout, right? Maybe you implement a style like that. You do your cautious or lower volume approach 2 weeks, and then every third week you plan on like, hey, I was going to do 2 by 2 miles. I'm doing 4 today. Like, whoa, something like that. And just give yourself the opportunity. And once you do that enough, they become less and less scary.
Hmm.
So I don't know if there's a downside, especially if you're in an off-season mode right now. You don't have a race tomorrow, next week, next month. Um, I don't see the harm as long as you don't have a negative mental relationship if you end up falling short of your original intended workout. So I guess that's sort of my blanket advice there.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know where the pre-workout anxiety is coming from.
I
Why
don't think
you continually think you won't be able to do the workout, even though you continually over overexceed, overreach, exceed,
Mhm.
over execute your workout. So where's that coming from? Are you keeping a training log? Are you reacquainting yourself with what you've done in the past before a workout? When you're building these workouts out, are you looking at it and saying, "Hey, this workout makes sense because I've done this, this, and this." If you do all those things and you still have pre-workout anxiety, then there's either another source that's leading to this, or this is your routine. This is you're one of those types of athletes that needs to talk yourself down beforehand in order to build the workout up. That there's something bigger going on somewhere else that's leaking into this, and that's definitely
Mhm.
worth identifying. But some people just have a process. We've had Ryan Kent on here and we've talked about him a bunch. Like his process is creating all these narratives against himself. Why everyone thinks he can't do it. He just builds up these chips on his shoulder until he gets himself all revved up, and then he goes out and to prove all these people wrong. Like that would
Mhm.
be a really anxious process unless you understand that that's your process, and then you can enjoy that. So again, just more questions of I'd like to know where it's all coming from and what you've tried to remedy it.
Well, he didn't use the word anxious or anxiety. It was more OCD perfectionism, which I
I thought
can
he said he
relate
had
to.
dread prior, and he's curious if the OCD perfectionism is why he keeps overshooting
Oh,
the workout.
yeah. I worry, even dread how hard it will be. Yeah, I don't know if that's anxiety or not, but um, I suppose that would be aversion. So, worry. anxiety. Um, yeah, maybe you need somebody else to write your programming and not put you in a box like you're doing to yourself. You know, I remember distinctly, Bracken, when we I've referred back to like our short time together when you were coach and I was athlete for a brief
Mhm.
amount of time. And this was just a standard leaderboard workout. It wasn't written specifically for me. And it was quarter mile repeats with 30 seconds rest. And I was like, 30 seconds rest. That's not rest. Like, I would never,
Right.
ever do that workout with 30 seconds rest. 16 by 400 meters with 30 seconds rest. No, at minimum a minute, but sometimes even more. My old school train of thought, my college track mentality. And I did the workout and I ran way too fast for the 30 seconds rest, but I did it and I ran well. And I never, ever, ever would have seen that on paper and been like, yeah, Kirk, you can go run 72s for that and kill it. Like, no, not a chance. But it was put upon me. I was like,
Mhm.
well, that's what I have to do. And I did it. And then it was a confidence booster. So stealing workouts, having somebody write your programming could be powerful in that regard. Just get you out of your own headspace and box. Let somebody else think about it for you.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thinking back to that brief period of time where I was coach and you were athlete before our relationship changed. We had a conversation about you where you weren't there, obviously. You had just gone through our onboarding week at Leaderboard. Do you remember the onboarding, or is it 2 weeks? I think 2 weeks of onboarding.
uh, 5K time trial and 15-15 test I hit a day apart. I remember doing that, cramming it in. And
And
I
then do you
don't
remember
remember,
the functional components?
was there a grip test and a carry test maybe?
Yeah.
Uh, there's, I don't remember when that was, but something along
Might
those
have had
lines.
strict pull-ups and dead hang.
Something like that. There was a carrier grip component, and then I remember a 5K time trial and the 15-15 test. Yeah.
Anyway, I was reading through notes on athletes, and I messaged the people who are Zach, Taylor, Lindsay. I'm like, "Hey, there's this guy that is either, like, not doing these workouts correctly or might just be a monster." And then I
Mm.
went through and checked some
Yeah,
other
we didn't know each
workouts and
other
didn't
at
know
all
each other.
then.
This was your first week on, we hadn't
We never
chatted yet.
interacted. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got onto it right away and started going, before we had a face-to-face call, and then I looked at a few of your workouts, and I messaged them like, "I think this guy's the real deal. This is gonna be really
Mm.
fun." And then now
Mm.
here we are so many years later, but the
Oh,
first that first time senior, because you went like, what were you, like 16:25 or something in a 5K, and then did 30 some pull-ups and did like a 2+ minute grip test, whatever it was. I was just like, these are nice numbers to be looking at here
I
from
think I
some
ran
random guy.
16-13 in
Is
that
that what it
thing. I
was?
remember something like that. Then
Yeah.
like 150 on the head in the treadmill test, and I never run a step uphill in my life,
Mhm.
and that was horrible. Yeah.
But to have some random person sign up for your program without reaching out beforehand and just a random to come in with those numbers, they're like, "Oh, we
Uh-huh.
might have just lucked into something here.
We had a crew then.
Only I knew."
There was a crew. There was a
Yeah, there
pretty
was.
good OG crew when you look back. Some pretty top caliber humans.
Mhm.
Oh, the good old days. 2016. That was 8 years ago. It's almost 9 years ago. That is
And
wild.
I would still take that group and form a training house out of them. Ian Caskey, Garrett Toll, Brian Gowiski, Mike Ferguson,
Forrest
yourself,
Bogue,
Forrest Bogue,
Sean,
Tyler Veerman.
Tyler Veerman. What's this Sean the Mount? What's his last name?
You wanna say Roberts,
Not Roberts.
but
Oh
it's
my
not
gosh.
Roberts.
Who is it?
Rogers, Sean Rogers,
Rogers. Yeah. Sure, we're forgetting
Tiffany
some. Yeah.
Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Whole crew back then.
What was a crew? All at the beginning of our young blossoming careers. All right. Next question. This is from an athlete I work with, Michael. I'm curious what you say here. So this is just for fun. Um, question, my dudes. If you two were to run High Rocks doubles, what do you think your time would be? To make it fun, count down from 3 and say you're expected finishing at the same time. Then discuss. He says, also, the above is assuming Bracken is healthy. Okay. And then he also adds, if you had to pick a doubles pair of any one of the Elite 15 men's field that would bring out your best as a team, who would it be? No, you can't be doing math. No, no, no.
I'm gonna tell you what Rich and I ran and what Jack and I ran. Or do you
Okay.
not wanna know?
I can guess. Didn't you and Jack run like 54?
No, Jack and I ran 55:40,
Okay.
and Rich and I did 51:17.
Okay. Well, I already knew what number I was going to say right
Okay.
out of the gates.
Okay. I'm going to count us
Okay.
down. We're going to go 3, 2, 1, and on go. We say it.
Just the minute, like to the minute or to the.
Yeah, to the minute.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1, 53
52.
minutes.
52 is what I thought. 52:30, if I could have been more specific.
And I was going to say
Elaborate.
53:30, but I went to 53 minutes. With specific training, we could get down to 51, but now everything at the high end happens at pro weight.
Right.
That was open weight, so then that would change. But I think we
Oh,
could
those
run a
times were all open
51.
weight for you
That
guys?
was open weight.
Okay.
So with training 51, cold 53 mid is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would need to shore up on some skill work for sure. Of course, foundation is there, skill work is not. So, I think that would be
I need to raise fitness.
I think my running would excel, but my stations would be behind probably yours, assuming health, and vice versa. Your running would be behind mine, but some of your station work would be ahead of mine, and we'd probably balance nicely, to be honest.
You know what it always comes down to in doubles is both people's is whoever your worst runner is. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's almost like it doesn't balance the equation.
If I had to
Because if
think of
I'm
the
the worst runner and then I try to work well on the stations, I come out even more tired, and then I'm the extra worst runner. So
52.5 to 53.5.
and I think yeah, assuming health.
Okay. As far as the Elite 15 goes, to piggyback what you said, my first thought is like I want to partner up with who I think is the strongest runner. And all these guys in the Elite 15 are monsters on the station work, so they can pick up my slack if I'm not prepared. So I would say, excuse me, Rich or Dylan.
Yeah, or Palio.
And yeah, and just to make sure that, because I'm guessing we're similar running capabilities, Rich, Dylan, roughly same
Dylan
ballpark.
just recently said he thinks he's in like 1540-ish shape.
Same ballpark.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tack on to who I think the strongest runner is, and then at least be able to hold my weight in that regard. And they're all monsters on the station. So what about you?
I realistically, I don't belong choosing any Elite 15 partner.
Well, don't be
I think
humble.
Nick Riker and I
Ooh.
would complement our skill sets well.
And what would be nice is when you both run by, somebody in the crowd would be like, "Go, Robert!" You're like,
Robert.
"Yeah."
I wonder if that would be a thing anymore.
Never know.
Only one way of knowing.
Do you want to add anything to that?
That I think we could be good at doubles. I think you and I would be very good at doubles. We wouldn't be limited by that top end power because we wouldn't have to access it. That a pro race would limit us in just in pure mass and time spent doing these stations that those absolute monsters do. We don't need to do that. We could treat it interval style. And we both do well with intervals.
In your fitness, correct? Yeah. I'll tell you what, running out in this negative with the wind chill, I'm like, there may be a skier and a high-end rower on its way to my house with some sleds, because I don't know if I want to be running on these county roads almost getting hit by grandmas all winter. So there's a chance. All right, next question from Jeff. Jeff asks, let me toss out a questioner for the next listener question episode. What strategy do you suggest for early morning long runs or races when you need to fuel but only wake up an hour or so before running?
Are we making people upset still?
I thought that was the goal.
Get up earlier. That's the strategy, specifically for a race. You just don't mess around with a race. If you're going to pay money to be there, if you're going to register for it, if you're going to train for it, if you're going to have to do, unless you're waking up out of your own bed and going, like, you're already spending so much time and effort and money on this thing, get up an hour and a half earlier. There's no excuse for not having time on race day. What is the
Mhm.
earliest you've woken up for a race?
3.
3?
I think 3 on the head. Yeah, for grandma's half marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3:45 for me. Because
Before that it was 4, but
yeah,
yeah.
there's just there is there's no rules for that race morning. You get up, that extra hour of sleep is not going to change your race. It's just not. If it's going to, that race is already has already left you. You're already not ready. So get up earlier. Now for the real answer, how do you
But
work around that
but
on
that is a real
Saturday
that was
long
a real
runs?
answer. That was your first thought was get up earlier, right? That was your
Yeah.
real answer.
And for every single person out there who says, listen, my kid's soccer game starts at 7 in the morning, which means we have to leave the house at 6, which if I'm going to get a 2-hour long run in, I have to be back by 5:30, which means leaving at 3:30. So I'm not getting up any earlier than 2:30.
Mhm.
I'm going to say, well, you're already up at 2:30. Get up at 2, or do it in the middle of the night and sleep. There's always a way around it. There's always a Chad Coleman out there who's going to get up earlier than you. I'm not saying I'm a perfect example of this because for training, I won't do that
How do
anymore.
you know when Chad Coleman gets up?
I don't know when he does, but I know it's early.
How do you know Chad Coleman? He's been killing it lately in the high rock space.
Chad gets up real early. Fine, I'll use TJ since TJ's giving me exact numbers.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead with your real answer.
Real answer is you just get simpler and simpler with your calories. You
Mhm.
make chewing, if the less you have to chew something, the quicker it's going to digest. And the simpler and easier it's going to be on your stomach. So if that means that you have to have 3 gels shaken up in a 20-ounce water bottle, you wake up a half hour before your run and you chug that down and go, then listen, calories are calories for a run. What you do afterwards matters more, but just get sugar in your body and you're fine. Or don't. Just wake up and go.
Um, this all revolves for me, my first like the timing of the morning. Like if things go according to plan, I wake up, I have my coffee, I eat a little bit, it works through my system, I use the bathroom, and now I'm ready to go, right? Like
Yep.
all that needs to happen. And in order for that to happen in a short window, it means you need to roll out of bed into your slippers, drag your feet to the kitchen, put an oat bar in your mouth when you don't even want it yet. The coffee's already made and you're sipping on that within 2 minutes of waking up. And you're just going through motions like a zombie
Mhm.
until all that gets in you. And then you sort of get it'll hit you and you'll wake up. And by that time, it's 45 minutes later. You're like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Thank God. You go to the bathroom, you get your clothes on, and you head out the door. But that would be the timing. And I've had good workouts that way where I've slept in late because I was up later, but I had to get it done. Like if I get that caffeine into my veins that quickly and I just put 2 to 400 calories of a very digestible bar in my system, like Bobos, I like Go Macro bars, anything like that. Just get it in and get it done and get your process started so you can sit on the toilet and so you
Yep.
can get out the door. Like that's what it's about. So you just got to do it immediately. You can't wake up, scroll on your phone, dawdle a bit, check your email. It's like, no, you got to literally zombie mode to the kitchen and get all that going right
Mhm.
when your alarm goes off. And you can leave and have a productive race or workout within an hour of waking up, but it needs to be from the time that alarm goes off. You have to be starting your process immediately.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah. Am I the only one who thinks in bathroom like that's part of the equation in the morning?
No, you got to.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I have a long quality, I'll just get started on my warm up. Like I know it's
Right.
going to hit.
Right.
And I have 20 minutes of warming up to do. And at some point, I'm dashing to the bathroom.
Hmm.
But time's a factor here. So I'm just starting now. It's going to be a split warm up.
Anything else you want to add to that?
Um, no, not really. Experiment with what calories you can take down quickly. You don't need to get up more than an hour before a run. I
Yeah.
still suggest doing it for a race so that your body's fully functioning. But for any sort of quality run, you can be up and going in an hour if you take in the right type of calories.
Mm-hmm. Bill McDonald says,
Actually, wait,
uh,
let's pump the brakes on this new one.
okay.
What is your go-to guaranteed method of going to the bathroom the quickest after waking up?
Probably not eating like an asshole the day before, first of
Okay.
all.
Here's a
Second, it's
line though. If you eat like enough of one, it's gonna be quick in the morning.
just eat normally the day before. That's always a good start. And then, honestly, what I outlined, the coffee is made. I'm drinking it within 10 minutes of waking up, and I'm having it's a small bar of banana. As long as I have some food and my strong cup of coffee, I can guaranteed be in a pretty dang good spot and ready to go, I would say. What about you?
All that, yeah. The 3 things that will get me there the quickest are Perform Elite, a drive to a location for the run, and the heated seat on during it. If I
Oh, you need
combine those 3 things, I am barely making it to the quick trip.
you need a warm butthole.
It's not it's not hurting the equation. That's not exactly how I sit on my seat. I don't think there's any contact there. But
Okay.
the warmth on the seat combined with driving in the anticipation of the run or the race, combined with Perform Elite with that beta alanine, it charges through me like something that's
Sitting
charging
isn't my
very slippery.
recipe, like walking around the house with my cup of coffee, like doing stuff, making the bed and
Yeah.
putting my running clothes on and like moving, that would be better than me sitting in a heated seat. I said seated heat. All right. Anything else you want to add to that?
No,
Or
that's
now
all.
can we move
I
on?
wanted
Okay.
actionable one, like, what is your go-to thing? And you gave that. And you made fun
Okay.
of mine, and I think we're in a good spot.
Me too. Me too. All right. Bill McDonald says, I have a question for the future Q&A episode. Does traditional strength training or CrossFit type training better complement running? And does it change by distance? For example, is one better for a 5K or 10K and another better for a half marathon, full marathon, and ultra? Thanks in advance. Love the podcast.
It's a good question. My global view on this is it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're doing something that stresses your skeletal system and your muscular system. Truly doesn't matter. None of it's performance enhancing to a point. However, the more anaerobic your intended race is, the less metabolic I think your lifting should be. If you are training for a 5K, which is highly anaerobic, I don't think CrossFit is how I would spend my time not running. I would keep it very much reps and rest. I would not do high intensity circuits. I wouldn't make it metabolic conditioning because I'd want to put all that type of effort into my run workouts. And outside of that, I wouldn't want to compromise it. But for something like an ultra where some people aren't doing as much intensity in training, I think that's fine. That's a good place for it, for CrossFit or things like that. But I wouldn't intend my lifting to move my fitness needle almost ever if I'm doing pure running.
I echo that sentiment completely. I'll just double down on one portion of it. Um, so this question comes through the lens of pure running, it sounds like,
Mhm.
not taking in hybrid fitness or any other OCR or anything like that. And the first part of what you had said, like we have such metabolic and aerobic demand through our run training that really, like if you had to pick one, we should be offsetting with the exact opposite. I don't care about a heart rate response in your strength work. I don't care about any sort of metabolic stimulus. I just want you to move heavy weights, not a lot of times, because we run very light weights millions of times, meaning like
Mhm.
our body weight exercise is one foot in front of the other nonstop, and that breaks us down. And we just want to offset that with anabolic work, which is heavy weight, lower reps, because what we do is lightweight, high reps in the nature of
Mhm.
running. And so, if you're injured, if all you do is go out the door and run slow and easy, so to speak, maybe there's a place for it, like you said. But I would just say no, like structured would be if you're properly run training.
Yeah.
That's the caveat. If you're a 3 day a week runner, maybe adding in 2 CrossFit Metcons as a fourth and fifth metabolic stimulus, maybe it helps move the needle a little bit. But if you're properly run trained, I think it would actually probably take away from your running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was this guy's name? Bill?
Yes, McDonald.
All right. So, Bill, this is not me speaking to you. This is speaking in general. But one of the big fallacies that athletes, but in particular runners, have is that They believe they need to feel the same way in training that they'll feel in a race or mimic those type of things far more often than you need to. And lifting is one of those. Like doing 3 to 5 reps, that's not how I feel in a race. I'm never pushing this hard as I would, and I'm never resting this much. This will have no carryover. I need to do 15, 20, 30 rep things so I get fatigued and have to work through fatigue. And that's all very logical, but that's really not physiologically logical. We really don't need to feel how a race feels as often as most everyday runners believe we need to.
Especially longer races, like even 5K and above. If you're running a 400, that's different, but we aren't.
Correct. Yeah, you can work things in isolation so much more effectively, and the crossover benefit of these things is like an equation. You're not just making the race in a smaller dosage every day in training. And so we don't need to. I mean, I fell into that pattern too when I first started lifting. Like, I need to do high rep stuff because my sport is high rep.
Mhm.
Yes, that's true, but it's not correct.
It's easy to fall to that logic.
Very, because it's
Mhm.
logical.
But it isn't.
Mm.
But yes. All right. Next question, John Larson. Yo, Q&A question for the pod. It's a good question. I'm going to think about this one. I think I know my answer, but for less experienced runners, let's say, i.e., maybe no high school or college track cross country experience, should they build into longer race distances through hitting times in shorter races and building up from there, or just train for the longest distance goal from day one? Example might be an end goal of a 3:15 marathon, but training might focus on hitting a 20-minute 5K, 45-minute 10K, and a 1:30 half before ever attempting the 3:15 marathon. Or should they just train for that 3:15 out of the gates? So you got to climb the ladder.
What age are we starting at for this?
He didn't say. It sounds like, let's say, an adult, mid 20s or older, who didn't have any proper run training, wasn't like a runner in high school or college.
I'm going to answer this through the lens of getting better at any one thing makes you better at all the things adjacent to that. And so I believe that getting the best at a marathon or getting the best at a 5K or getting the best at a 10K, all those things will make you better at other pieces. So I would choose the centrally located one to train the most. We've talked about that in the past. Center on that 5 mile to 10 mile distance and run the volume of the marathon. And that's where you start at, in my opinion. I think training for a 3:15 marathon, any specific speed work to get you better at a 3:15 marathon is less important than just getting better at threshold running. Maybe even a 5K training at that point. But I would focus more on building your engine and building your volume than trying to run a 3:15 marathon. I think that's too slow. This is going to be the pissing people off part. Running slower than like 220, maybe 225 in a marathon
So
is
everybody
too
listening.
slow to worry about paces in training.
Okay.
It's too formless because you don't know what your ideal marathon pace is. If you're trying to run 310 versus 315, you don't know which one it really is the ideal pacing. You're
You'd cut it
guessing.
as low as 220 or 225, huh?
I think so.
Hmm.
It's just the pace of the marathon at that point compared to your threshold or anything else is still too slow to
Yeah.
worry about splitting hairs on I'm trying to get better at running a 220 marathon. Like, no, just get better at your threshold running, run a ton of volume, and see what you can run in the marathon. I don't think anyone needs to worry about I'm trying to run a 3:15 marathon. Just become the best overall runner you can, and you're going to run a 3:15 marathon, or you won't. But it won't be because of a specific pace you worked on in your lead up. I truly believe that. And it's calling all of us slow. But I'm never going to run 220, 225 in a marathon. I know that. That's fine, which means I don't need to worry about it.
I don't know if you directly answered the question. Let's say elevator pitch format. So you're saying don't train for the marathon, but do?
Train
I
for
mean,
the
did you?
speed of the races and move up, sure, if that's how you want to do it, but train for the
Yeah.
volume to be able to handle the marathon. Combine them both. Because if you're trying to run your best 5K as an adult who hasn't come up through high school, college, they're going to put you on a much different volume plan than if you're trying to run your best marathon.
Mhm.
But the marathon's interval work plan they're going to put you on is going to be almost useless for most people off the couch. Like you're better off running
That I
5K
agree with.
pace when you're fresh off the couch in small doses than you are trying to run marathon pace. Marathon pace is useless at that point. Not useless, but it's the return on the investment is so much less than doing other specific paces. So run marathon volume and run 5K or 10K pace work. And that's going to meet you in the middle better than just running a couch to marathon plan's going to, or a couch to 5K plan.
I don't
It's
think you
pretty
should
preachy
focus.
of me, Kirk. I have a
Yeah,
tone going on right now.
yeah, a little bit, but I like that. I I like when like the older I get, the more I like when people just express their actual opinions instead of sugarcoating crap and say it like it is. And
Mhm.
like even if I don't agree with it, I can appreciate somebody just divulging their actual thoughts and feelings. Not that that's what you did there; you weren't abrasive, but you should be opinionated. That's people come here for our opinions. Um, I think you should not train for a marathon out of the gates. So I'm going to agree with you there. That should not be your focal point. That should not be your northern star. What I will say is obviously you have some years of running and you're ramping back up. You're listening to running podcasts. Um, I think the half marathon and nailing it and preparing for the half and proving to yourself that I can endure. Because the back few miles of a half, you're going to start to have an idea of what like sitting in it feels like. Oh, you're going to just start to scratch the surface of what a marathon feels like, just barely. And my advice is get a half or two on your calendar with a reasonable amount of time. And what does marathon, and if you can do that, what does marathon training look like? Marathon training looks like half marathon training, but you draw out your long runs on the weekends. It's that simple. There's not much difference, especially as a newer runner. Monday through Friday barely needs to look different between a half marathon and a marathon plan, except we start to build confidence in extending out that long run every other weekend or so in your build, right? And so make your centerpiece the half marathon, race down to some 5Ks and 10Ks, prove to yourself once or twice, yeah, I got this half thing. That doesn't scare me as much anymore. Then make the leap. But I would just keep it as simple as that.
Mm.
Um, I don't think you need to climb the ladder. Not, for sure. But I also don't think that you should be like, I'm going to run a marathon in the fall, but all you've done is rode 5Ks and charity run walks. Like, I don't think
Mhm.
that's the right approach.
I agree with that. In theory, I think it's better to build up sequentially than start long. I do believe that. But I think the very best thing any starting out runner can do is get better at the act of running. Not at the
Yeah.
pace of running, not at the heart rate of running, the act of running. And for that, I believe there are three thresholds, Kirk. And this is not science. This is bro science. This is just looking at 20, 30 years of running, what I believe. I think that the most new runners struggle at multiple of these three stride thresholds. The first is jogging. Like the slowest you can run without shuffling or being really awkward, that
Mm,
jogging stride is really difficult for a lot of people to do.
I agree.
So I think you need to spend as much time as safely possible getting better at running your slowest available stride that's still considered running. And then at the far end of the spectrum, the fastest stride you can use without all out sprinting. You need to dose that as frequently as possible to just get better at the act of running. And then the middle one, like as fast as I can just run normally before I'm fighting for speed. And a
Mm,
lot of people would call that like actual threshold running, but like just those three strides. If you did as much of your slowest stride, the second most of your fastest normal running stride, and then weekly dosages several times a week of your fastest without sprinting stride. If you just worked on the act of running those three strides and did them as much as you could do without any of the three having a negative consequence, that would be your best first year of running you could possibly do. But
most
it's
people
too
do.
simple and dull, and there's not a plan, and it's not
Mm.
sexy.
Most people do that middle one all the time. That's just where they end up, and then they end up with sloppy fading at the back end form because
Yeah.
they ran too hard too early and I don't have the fitness to back it up. And people rarely are just like a kid like in the yard only has one speed. It's like go like he doesn't know how
Hmm.
to shuffle efficiently. Like we're never taught that younger, right? It's always quick, quick, quick. I feel like so. Yeah, I agree. I still work on running slow efficiently. Been at this for a long time.
And
Not
there's
easy.
carryover from that, and there shouldn't be, but there is.
Hmm. All right, we're done with the Q&A. I want to just end with one compliment we were given that I saved that I just thought would be worth sharing.
Okay. I
I
like
have it
compliments,
screenshot.
Kirk.
Yeah, I know you do. Flattery goes a long way with us here at the Running Public. Tyler Ortega says, "Hey guys, wanted to give you a quick update. Been on the Running Public run and strength plan since May and have really been seeing results. Yesterday, I raced a 15K, and it was his first race last year. So I raced a 15K a year apart, and I crushed my previous time by 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Really wanted to say thank you for all the insight, discussions, questions answered, and training plans. Let's keep crushing it." So he took 5 minutes off his 15K in 1 year. He's been on our plan since May.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Well done. 30 seconds a mile or so. That's a very notable improvement. So well
That's a
done.
big
Thank you for
improvement.
sharing.
And that's only 19 a month.
1999.
This is
Plus
a
the
good
strength
time.
add-on. 24.99 with the strength add-on.
That's right.
We
Now
don't
you're
have Black
pushing the
Friday deal,
boundaries.
do we?
No.
Okay.
However, all season long is Black Friday with that. That's the cheapest functional training plan you can have on this planet. But
I
now is a
agree.
good time to pimp this because now is that transition period of time for people into off season. But equally as importantly, now is the time where Kirk and I are building out the next progression of training, the next round, the big push towards making this training plan even better. So this is the last week or two of, let's call it 2024 training, and 2025 training begins, which is going to have new workouts and new lifting and new speed sprinkles and all of that. That's coming on in the next week or two. So now is the time. If you've thought about pulling the trigger on this thing, but haven't wanted to, now's the time. Cancel anytime.
$19.99 a month, month to month. You just literally go into your PayPal and cancel if you care to. It's that simple.
Yep.
Yeah, and we get a lot of messages like that, and I wish we should save and share more. But I had that one screenshot because it came in via our Running Public IG chat. So I think we leave it there. We still got a bunch of screenshots and questions, but that will be for another day.
Pleasure seeing you again. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we apparently, if this goes through, have an episode for the long run with Ian Hosick telling us how we're wrong about everything and that we know nothing.
Yeah.
And that he disagrees with a lot of things we say. And so it should be talk about ruffling feathers. We might have one of those episodes coming up for you. So stay tuned.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one this week.
Uh-huh. All right, that's a wrap.